Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty."
Yam sanyasamiti prahur yogam tam vitti pandava nahi anyasta sankalpa yogi bhavati kashtanaha.
Translation. For one who is
What is called
for one is a
neophyte.
neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system. Work is said to be means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Arurukshormunir yogam karma karanamujyate yogarudasya tasyaiva samakaranamujyate.
Sorry, but it's glitching, so
No, it's not glitching. You cannot see it.
well, I can't see it properly. So, are you on text 4? Just to
Translation.
are we on text 4?
We are on text 3.
Text 3.
Sorry, I got confused. Translation. For one who is neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Yada hinendriyarteshu na karmasvanusajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastadochyate.
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material pleasures, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in creative activities.
Now is it coming?
Uttaredatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaivahi atmanu pandur atmaivari puratmanaha.
One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditional soul and his enemy as well.
Panduratmatmanastasya yenatmaiva manajitaha anatmanastu satrutve vartetatmaiva satruvat.
For him who has conquered the mind is the best friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy.
Chitatmana prasantasya paramatma samahitaha sitosna sukha dukkesu tada manapamanayoho.
For one who has conquered the mind, the tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Jnana vijnana triptatma kutastho vichitendriyaha yukta ityuchyate yogi samalostrasma kanchanaha.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic. When he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization, such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
Sukhrin mitrar yudasina madhyasta dvesha bandhushuhu saddushvapi cha papesu samabuddhir vishishyate.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yata sittatma nirasirapi karaha.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Sukau dese pratistapya sthiramasaman asanam atmanaha nati utritam nati nicham kailajina kusotaram tatra kagaramana kritva yata jitendriya kriyaha upavisyana yunjad yogamatma vishuddhaye.
To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Samam kaya siragrivam Dharayannachalam stiraha Samprekshya nasikagaram Swam disaskanavalokayan Prasantatma vigatabir Brahmachari vrate stitaha Manasamyam yamachito Yukta asita matparaha.
One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life.
Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi niyata manasaha santim nirvana paramam matsamstam adhigacchati.
There is no, thus practicing constant control. Sorry, but can you put it more up? I can't see. No, like on text 15, I think. Thus practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities. The mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence.
Natiya santasyuktu yogosti na chaikantam manasnataha nakchati swapna silasya jagrato neva charjunaha.
There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough,
Yuktahara viharasya yuktachestasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodasya yogo bhavati dukkha.
he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can medicate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Yada vinyatam chittam atmani yeva vatistate nispraha sarvakamebhyo yukta iti uchyate tada.
When the yogi, by the practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga.
Yata dipo nivatasto nengate sopamasmitaha yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha.
As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self.
Yatro paramateshtitam nirudam yoga sevaya yatra chaiva manatmanam pasyanatmani utusyati sukam madyantikam yattad buddhigrahyam matindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam स्थितस्खलति तत्त्वतः यं लब्ध्वा च परं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुरापि विचाल्यते तं विद्या दुःखसंयोगा वियोगं योगसंनितम्.
In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actually freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
सानिस्सायेन योक्तव्यो योगो निर्विनसेतसा संकल्प प्रभवान् कामं त्यक्त्वा सर्वानसेतः मनसावेन्द्रियग्रामं विनियम्य समान्ततः.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind.
Okay, up to verse 24, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Shikhar and Nanika. Thanks a lot for your reading. Really appreciate that.
Thank
A
you.
wonderful effort.
Thank you.
Both of you have done very wonderful. Okay, so today we are reading verse number 3. Can somebody confirm that are you hearing a lot of background music of Kirtan sound or not?
No, Prabhuji.
No, Prabhuji.
Perfect. So headphones are working because there's a massive Kirtan going on the background right now. Okay, wonderful. So chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita started 2 days ago, all about Dhyana Yoga. Chapter 6 is all about Dhyana Yoga. And we are on verse number 3 today. Aru Rukshor Mune Yogam Karma Karan Uchyate Yoga Rudasta Tatsaiva Shamah Karanam Uchyate Arukshor Munere Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yoga Rudasta Tatsaiva Shamah Karanam Uchyate Aru Ruksha Murar Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yoga Rudasta Tatsaiva Shamah Karanam Uchyate. Aruksha, one who has just begun yoga. Munehe, of the sage. Yogam, the eightfold yoga system. Karma, work. Karanam, the means. Uchyate is said to be. Yoga, eightfold yoga. Arudasya, of one who has attained. Tasya, his, eva, certainly, samaha, cessation of all material activities. Karanam, the means. Uchyate is said to be. Translation. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of material activities is said to be the means. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization in pure spiritual life. According to various elevation, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga. may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rukshu stage, and the highest rung is called Yoga Ruda stage. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga systems, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life, practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less body exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna, and being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna is considered to have ceased all material activities. Arukshora muner yogam karma karan muchyate yoga rudasya tasaiva samakaran muchyate. Om Jnanam Timrindasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapad Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Tavadaitam Tavadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as I was mentioning, chapter 6 is entitled as Dhyana Yoga. So we have a Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. That is what Srila Prabhupada is just explained in his purpose. And in all the yogas are linking oneself to the Supreme. There's an activity involved. And these activities are defined by Krishna at various stages for various kind of people. Now, one who is performing Bhakti Yoga, he may have a certain point of view. And one who is performing Dhyana Yoga or a Jnana Yoga, they may have a certain point of view. Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is focusing on everybody. Although he has specified at many places that Bhakti is the highest of all. Krishna has mentioned it at various places. But same time, he's also giving us the view of yoga ladder. In that yoga ladder, who is where? So that people in general, they can identify themselves where they are and how they can progress from that stage of the yoga ladder to the next stage of the yoga ladder. So in that sense, this chapter is very much devoted to Dhyana Yoga. But when we'll read the commentary on the purpose of this chapter, we will also see how Srila Prabhupada has very marvelously bring out the point of Bhakti Yoga and how within this chapter you'll find some pearls of wisdom for conducting Bhakti Yoga. Now, Arjun is in the similar situation, and he's pretty confused that whether shall I work or shall I renounce? Now, he felt that renounce means that you leave everything, and work means that you do at the activity. Now, Krishna has gone into the fine tuning of this understanding, and he is giving us details of that. And he very much pointed out that, Arjun, I am actually talking the same thing. The fact that renunciation, what you think is renunciation, is not even renunciation, because what you think renunciation is giving up of work is not renunciation. Giving up of work is not to be done by somebody who is still attached to the fruits of the work. And if in that stage somebody gives up the work, then because there are impurities in his heart, when he says impurities, what does that mean? Impurities, Krishna is saying, is the material desires to enjoy through the senses, the sense objects. This is the impurity. So till such time, there's a desire to enjoy the sense objects. And if one gives up the work in that situation, in due course of time, the desires will arise and they will force him to work again. So giving up work at the stage when one is still attached to the fruits of the work and the work itself will not be something considered as renunciation. It will be considered as a markat vairagya, a vairagya of a monkey. Monkey is renouncing, but his renouncing is no good. From one tree, he will jump to the other tree, and from one she monkey to the another she monkey. And that is the monkey life. Now, Krishna is saying that be very careful, Arjun. You may think that renunciation is giving up of the work, but this is not certainly what I'm recommending. This is not which will take you to the highest stage of life. Then, of course, Arjun has been given the understanding that you are not the body, you are a soul. And soul has no birth, no death, no old age, no disease. Body has everything. Then why is this soul entrapped in this body? And therefore, Krishna is giving an understanding to Arjun that, look, Arjun, you are an eternal soul, part and parcel of me. And so are the all other living beings. Now, Arjun is saying, if that is the case, why don't we know? And Krishna is now giving an understanding of the processes that how one can know himself as a soul, and also how one can know the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in his various forms. So to say, the form of Brahman Jyoti, Paramatmeti, the Brahman Jyoti, which is the light, and the Paramatmeti, which is the Supreme Soul living in the heart of a living entity and every living entity. And also the Swayam Bhagavan, who is the personality of Godhead, who has the form, who has the features, who speaks, who sings, who he smells, who hears, and who reciprocates, who has loving relationship with his devotees, and has a complete planet, Vaikuntha, the Vrajadham. And in this way, he shares rasas with his devotees, various kind of relationships, and dasya, sakyaras, dasyaras, and conjugal love or parental relationship. So in this way, Krishna is giving the understanding of Arjun that you are not the body, and your main objective is to do your duties and work, and then you transcend all of that. You transcend, but how would you transcend? Not by leaving work. So that's the first point Krishna is emphasizing. For one who is neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. Now in text 3, when we read this line, work is said to be the means, it definitely means that now Krishna is saying, what you're thinking to leave, as in you don't want to fight in the battle, but that is the very means for your salvation. And now Arjun is perplexed. Why, Krishna? Sometime before you were saying that renunciation is good, but now you're saying you work. Then Krishna is giving an understanding of renunciation to Arjun, that look, you have to still work, because when you offer the fruit of the work, what does that mean? That you're not attached. When you offer something to someone, you're not attached to that thing. You have to be detached. You give it away. It is said that when you give donation, for example, then you should give donation in such a way that even your left hand doesn't know that right hand has given the donation. And when one very typical sort of analogy is given, that if one evacuates and one comes out, it's not that one is thinking about the evacuated uh, excreta. He's completely detached. There's no means, although it comes from his own body. Similarly, although the result of the work is coming from your own work, but one has to deal with it in a detached manner. So one is giving donation, he has to be as detached as one is detached from his own excreta. So forget about it. It's something done and forgotten. Similarly, any fruits of the work, one has to be completely detached. And if one gives that fruit of the work to Supreme Lord in love and devotion, that work will become the means to attain salvation. Why? Because Supreme Lord will accept that as a service, love and devotion. And that service, in that case, will become Nishkam Karma Yogi, or also can be thought about as Bhakti. It is not pure devotional service. It is mixed devotional service. However, it is still a devotional service. That is what Arjuna is being told here. And then Krishna is telling, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activity is said to be the means. Now, what does that line mean? It actually is saying that if one is elevated in yoga, which means that one's heart is purified, which means that there's no more material desires left in the heart. Anabhilashita shunyam. There's no other material desire. There's no desire to enjoy the senses. There's no desire to achieve name and fame. There's no desire to propagate one's own self. And there's no desire to be seen as wealthy, famous. None of these desires are there. There's only one desire, and that desire is that my duty is to serve the Supreme Lord, or the desire is that I want to be like the impersonalists think, I want to be one with the Supreme, or the devotees think that I want to be serving the Supreme Lord, or the yogis are thinking that, okay, or Gyanis are thinking that we want to be one with the Brahman Jyoti, and the yogis are thinking that they want to be achieving mystic siddhis, etc. And the real yogis who are wanting to understand the supreme soul within the heart in all living entities. So all of these yogis, all of them, leaving apart the one who is thinking about achieving the mystic siddhis for material achievements, others who have purified their hearts, they do not have material desires left. They only want to be either in the service of the Lord or becoming one with the Supreme Lord, etc. So these people, they do not have any impurities in the heart left. Their mind is no more restless. They are defined as Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochati Na Kankshati. And they are neither lamenting, nor they are hankering for anything. They are situated in the self. They are always very happy within, and they understand that material endeavors will not bring any happiness, because material endeavors lead to temporary fruits, and these temporary fruits are transient, and they will come to an end, including the very body in which we are living, that will come to an end. What to talk about the fruits of the work that we're doing? But what accumulates? The karmic reaction will accumulate. It will accumulate in a subtle form, and it will travel with us when the mind, according to the desires, will take or carry the soul to the next destination. At that point in time, all the karmic reaction which is accrued will also get transferred, and then the fruits, the reactions of those karmic actions will be suffered by the soul. just like the wind carries the aroma of the flowers, and nobody can see the aroma of the flowers. You can't even see the flowers sometime, but you say, oh, what a beautiful smell is coming, so nice, so beautiful. And then, but who is carrying that? Wind is carrying. Similarly, the mind is going to carry the soul from one body to the another body, and therefore one's mind, if not purified, mind and heart is sometimes also synonymous in various spiritual contexts. So if somebody's mind is not pure, or heart is not pure, and mind is still hankering for the material desire, for sense gratification, then the possibility of this kind of yoga is not there, in which you cease all the material activities. If the heart is already pure, one can cease the material activities. One can sit at one place. And but in that also, Krishna has already objected that point, that he's saying that even if one is not supposed to be doing any work, and he says that even I am born and I have appeared, but for me there is no obligation to work. I'm not obliged to work anything, but still I am working, because common people will follow the leaders. And if leaders are not working, then common people will think that they are at the level of those leaders in the spiritual life, and hence they will stop working. And then what you will do? You will destroy their means to come to me by not working. So Krishna is telling Arjun that, Arjun, you decide to fight, because you're fighting, A, it will relieve you, B, also all the common people in this material world, they will see your example, and they perform their duties. They are due to them. And if they do not perform their duties, how will they get salvation? And that is the point Krishna is reiterating. So if I look at this Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, in chapter 1, in this there are some very interesting verses here. It says, therefore, to enable people to reach the stage of activities that are not tinged by fruitive results, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. This is exactly what Krishna is trying to achieve through Arjun right now. You do your work. He's saying you do your fruitive activities, stay unattached with your fruit results, but you do your work. You can't just go to jungle and start meditating. For unless one begins by performing activities as recommended by the Shastras, one cannot reach the stage of liberation, or activities that produce no reactions. Then it says the point that I was mentioning, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, works just like an ordinary human being, yet he does not desire to enjoy the fruit of the work. He is full in knowledge, free from material desires and diversions, and completely independent. As the supreme teacher of human society, he teaches his own way of activities, and thus he inaugurates the real path of religion. I request everyone to follow him. In this context, we look at the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. When Krishna came by himself, he could not give the process of bhakti the way Lord Chaitanya came and has demonstrated how one can perform devotional life and achieve perfection within this lifetime. So the line here, he teaches his own way of activities. Thus he inaugurates the real path of religion. In Kali Yuga, we can see how Lord Chaitanya has inaugurated the real path of devotion in this age, where people are completely involved in sense gratification. And by the devotional activity of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc., one can easily reach, specifically chanting of the holy names in the form of Mahamantra. One can easily cross the path of this ocean of material existence. In this text 4th of Canto 11, chapter 10, we can see Krishna is saying in the previous chapter, Avanti Brahman has given a lot of understanding of spiritual life. Now Krishna is saying, one who is fixed me within his mind as the goal of life should give up activities based on sense gratification. So what kind of activities to be given up? The activities of sense gratification. And then he says, should instead execute work governed by the regulative principles for advancement. So the nature of work has to change. The intention of the work has to change. The sciences have to be engaged, but in a different way. Now, previously, if somebody is enjoying his senses in a sense gratification way, he has to change his consciousness and he has to regulate his senses through the regulative principles of advancement in his spiritual life. Then he says, however, one is fully engaged in searching out the ultimate truth of the soul, one should not accept the spiritual injunctions governing fruitive activities. So we can see that how same person, when he's at a stage which is a stage of attachment with the work, one cannot give the work. And the attachment with the fruits of the work, one cannot give the work, give away the work. But at the same time, if one is purified, he has understood the ultimate truth of the soul. At that time, he does not have to follow the spiritual injunctions, because at this stage, he has already achieved what the spiritual injunctions meant for him to achieve. So this is a very high stage of purity. It says here, if we look at this verse which is Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 10th chapter, 2nd verse, a purified soul should see that because the conditioned souls who are dedicated to sense gratification have falsely accepted the objects of sense pleasure as truth, all of their endeavors are doomed to failure. That is the difference between a purified soul and a conditioned soul. A conditioned soul is not able to differentiate between the activities of sense gratification, and he will temporarily accept that as life. Whereas a purified soul can see that, oh, this is all temporary. It's only give the objects of senses will give pleasure, temporary pleasure, which may be accepted as truth temporarily, but that's not all in all. Therefore, all the endeavors will be completely doomed and failed. So, material activities can never reward the highest perfection of life, but Krishna consciousness can. Material intelligence impelled by senses strongly desires sense gratification. We have to read this line because it so applies to all the conditioned souls, including us lot who is trying to achieve spiritual life. Material intelligence impelled by the senses strongly desires sense gratification. Such intelligence actually separates one from one's real self-interest. Thus, the intelligence absorbed in that which is materially favorable and unfavorable becomes divided in pursuit of innumerable categories of material advancement. The whole world is trying to get to the advancement of material life, and they are trying to make programs of how we can live peacefully, happily, and not peacefully, rather happily, gratifying our senses in this material world. But they are unable to think beyond that point. And that is where Krishna is giving this knowledge to Arjun, that Arjun, this is also appearing, this verse is also appearing in the Canto 11, chapter 10, as in one of the purports, where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary is also given here. It says, a part of what Prabhupada has said and a little more. For one who is neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. Now we understand this line very clearly. If we are neophyte, then work is said to be the means, which means if we are attached, we have to work and offer the fruits to the Supreme Lord. And then it says, and for one who has already attained to yoga, cessation of all material activities said to be the means. Now, somebody is already self-realized. He does not need to follow the regulative principles of Shastra. He already understands the futility of those temporary activities, and he can very easily be at an equilibrium position of mind, because there is no impurity in the heart which will compel or impel him to act in such a way to propel the sense gratification activities. Then a person is said to have attained to yoga when having renounced all material desires, not material activities. It's saying a person is said to have attained yoga having renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. In this, there are a couple of examples given, very interesting examples. I'll take the second and third example, perhaps. For example, a renounced sannyasi preaching Krishna consciousness, or even a renounced householder preaching Krishna consciousness, is not required to execute all the injunctions governing sense gratification in family life. Ultimately, every human being should take to the transcendental duties of Krishna consciousness. Rather than working to fulfill one's own desire, then offering the results to Krishna, one should fully engage in pleasing the Lord directly according to his own intimate desires. And in the previous paragraph, it said, if one follows properly regulated principles of Varnashram system, one who is fully absorbed in spiritual advancement will ultimately give up all sense gratification derived from sexual association, either regulated or illicit. So it is mentioned that if one has to be engaged in sexual activities, but one can achieve, one can be engaged in illicit way, which is adharmic, and the other way is to be engaged in regulated way, which is dharmic, to create children. But one who is fully absorbed in spiritual advancement will ultimately give up either regulated or illicit sexual activities. And that person is at the platform of what we were discussing as a complete yoga ruda, one who has come to the complete understanding of the self, and all the impurities have gone away. Similarly, in the stage of pravarta karma, or ordinary sense gratification, one will eat whatever pleases his tongue. So this is normal human being. Let's go eat here, eat there. We like pizza, we like burgers, we like this, we like that. And you go eat anywhere and everywhere without offering, just eat for the pleasure of tongue. And not only that, there's a lot of formidable things that people eat, which is meat products, especially cow meat, etc. So, but on the other hand, a materialistic devotee will sometimes cook sumptuous preparations and offer them to deity, not in order to satisfy the Lord, but rather with the intention of satisfying his own tongue and belly. So one was adharmic. Now this is dharmic. This is but still considered some sort of selfish activity, because a conditioned soul is doing for satisfying his own tongue and belly. But in the process, of course, he is cooking this prasadam and offering to the deities. Therefore, this is work, nishkam karma yoga, or rather, not nishkam karma yoga. It is attached to the results, but you're offering some part of the result to the Lord. Now, however, one who has some pravarta or fully engaged in spiritual consciousness is never interested in simply gratifying his tongue. He avoids ordinary food prepared by materialistic persons, and just for the purpose of keeping his body fit for serving Krishna, he eats moderate quantities of food that has first been offered to the deity for the deity's pleasure. So, in this way, we can see the person who is already elevated in yoga will behave like that. He will only accept a little which has been offered to the deities, cooked for the deities. Bhoga was bought for the deities. There was no other desire but to give the pleasure to the deities by offering that bhoga cooked in love and devotion, offered to the deities, and then one is accepting it as prasad and taking it only a little so that one can keep his body and mind together. Therefore, we understand from this verse that if at different stages, different type of understanding has been given, and one can act according to the level that one is. As Prabhupada explained, most of us are at the stage where we are at the beginning of the ladder, is yoga ruksha stage. One should follow the regulated principles of bhakti, and one should offer the fruits of their work to the Supreme Lord. By doing so, one will come to the Krishna conscious stage, and in the Krishna conscious stage, As Krishna conscious activities are not ordinarily material activities, Krishna conscious activities are activities in love and devotion to Lord, and therefore they are considered as pure devotional service. One who is at the platform of Krishna consciousness, one would not be implicated by the karmic reactions. So I'll end this discussion today here. If there are any questions or comments, you can please now tell us or share your comments or any question is there in the group. Did it
Hare
bring
Krishna,
the clarity?
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Julie Mataji.
I'm just thinking about when you offer Bhoga to Krishna, and the intention when you're preparing it is that you don't want to give Krishna what you wouldn't be having as well. Isn't that counted? So is it something that would jeopardize your intention of being real sincere and be a true devotee in following all the regulative principles and the
So
the expectations?
yeah. It's a very special position and place to be, where you're describing that we cook something that obviously we like it and then we offer it. Of course, there's a prescription of what can be offered to Krishna. Pattam pushpam phalam toyam. In that prescription, we are making nice dishes and we are offering to Krishna. Now, there are special occasions when, let's say, Janmashtami, and you really want to prepare something nice and sweet for Lord Krishna. You think, oh, Krishna was born to appear today, and I would like to cook, let's say, some nice kheer for Krishna. And then you make Krishna that kheer with love and offer it to Krishna. And then there are regular days when you're thinking, oh, what do you think when we ask children and spouses, what do you think we want to eat today? Okay, fine, we'll make some paneer sabji and chawal. Okay, fine, that's good, nice. And then you offer it to Krishna. And these, both the activities seemingly same, but the amount of devotion in the first activity, as we can understand, would be much higher. And Krishna recognizes that. And the pure stage is such a stage where a devotee does not bother about what he likes or he doesn't like. He only does activities which are pleasing to the Lord. Now, in context of this example, it's just cooked for Krishna, whether I like it or not. Krishna must like it. Or in context of something else, we can think that I don't like this job or this activity, but if it is pleasing to my guru, if it is pleasing to devotees, pleasing to Krishna in that way, I'll continue to do it. However I hate it, how I dislike it, I still do it because it is pleasing to the Lord. So personal sacrifice, personal desires, personal intentions are not involved in satisfying the desires of Krishna. Like, if you can pick up the example of gopis again, they won't do any decoration to their body to please themselves. They would only do it because they knew that Krishna would like it. And therefore it was the intention, and it is always the intention of our activities which will govern the intensity of our devotion to Krishna. And then Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatha bhajamyaham. One who is able to give their devotional service in whatever way they approaches me, I will give them that particular result. So in that light, we can say that both the offerings are different at a different level of devotion. There is nothing right or wrong, but there is definitely lower and higher understanding of the ladder of yoga or linking or devotion to the Lord. And one who is 100% pure with no material desires, because he has no material desires, so he has nothing to do with own senses and sense gratification. whether it's tongue or whether it's ear or whether it's whatever other senses. Therefore, only thing this person or devotee think is about pleasing the Lord. Anna bilashita shunyam, no other desires. So that's very pure understanding of this yoga ladder, Julie Mataji.
Prabhuji, that's really clear. Also, it's like the flowers, the scented flowers. You're aware that they smell nice and you like it, so you will offer Krishna the best, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Pranam, what is the text exactly trying to say? Sorry, I didn't understand the purpose. Is it depicting a difference between meditation through Krishna and meditation through senses? Okay, so Surabhi Mataji, this Krishna is saying to Arjun here that do not leave your work. You do your work, but offer the result of your work to me. You can certainly leave your work the day your heart is purified, because if you leave your work now, after some time, you will have material desires which will force you to work again. But if your heart is purified, if your mind is purified, then you do not have to then work. So in that context, he's saying that you meditate through Krishna consciousness. You use your senses in the meditation or working for Krishna. That is the pure devotional service. I hope I'm clear on that point. Okay, thanks. These texts are becoming too abstract and technical to grasp for me. Thanks for the explanation. Same here, unless I have read the purports of Srila Prabhupada and some of the verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. The clarity does not come. I'm hearing this very nice nice recitation from Puranjan Swami, wherein the entire Bhagavad Gita is spoken in a conversational way, exactly like whatever we have the Bhagavad Gita, but it's slightly easier to understand. I was hearing that Gita. Maybe I can post the link on the chat, and those who are in their free times can perhaps definitely hear this Prabhupada disciples recitation, and I'll just send this off on the chat itself. You can all read, you can all hear through this, and you would definitely appreciate the flow of Bhagavad Gita. So here it is. You can copy and paste. Okay. If there's no more question, then we shall see you very soon again. Hare Krishna. Panchakalparubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.